is good.
In a related realm, there's another challenge here for $10 to have. So Matt is on from Rewatch with Love with me, and also does a different rewatch podcast for the MCU with James. And so for Jordan and Ben and Ian, so it says here the other co-hosts fight over getting Matt for their next rewatch podcast. Rather than fight over it, what would each of you do as a rewatch podcast with Matt? So this has to be something that both of you are into.
And I think Phoenix Cinematic Universe.
I've seen someone pitch this in the chat to me earlier in this year, and I've Matt, how much time do you have to do a Universal Century Gundam rewatch?
Oh no, Ian! It would be a rewatch for you. It would be I'm into it, but it would fully be like
none of this is binding, by the way.
Ian takes Matt on a tour of the Gundam Universal Century.
You know what? Let's do some tests recordings later.
This would be a lore deep dive. Meg is never going to forgive me if I actually agree to do another podcast. That will likely spell doom for my relationship. But let's talk.
Unicorn Gundam.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of lore there, a lot of times, and we can break it down.
It's just a whole lot of stuff, Ian.
Ben?
It is.
Oh gosh, I mean, so like the obvious answer as Matt is currently partaking through his first adventure through the Kingdom Hearts universe, would be something of that. But I mean, I don't know, like part of me also just wants to go into the realm of just like the deep dive of Ben and Matt talk about the politics of World of Warcraft and go over like all the individual like the shades of gray and the various like thought processes that
no, the Shades of Grey of Warcraft is a different franchise, Ben.
Yeah, and you know, and then also just like talk about why like anytime anybody has been like, oh, you know, like I'm thinking about getting into World of Warcraft, and like we're having these conversations, and Matt's like, you should play Paladin, and we're just like, well, I mean, there could be like other classes that should go around, and they're like, well, you know, I want something well-rounded Paladin. You should, you know, something that could like do like a heal, a DPS Paladin. And
Paladins are well-rounded, and they do heal in DPS. I don't know what you're talking about, Ben.
Didn't you, Matt? Didn't you for a while name all of your alts after different kinds of rice?
No, not different kinds of rice. I did have one alt that was named Basmati because I couldn't think of anything else. It was just a word that came to mind. My favorite alt is the Draenei I have named Daba D.
Huh.
Yeah, self-explanatory.
Yeah. What other alts have I got that have good names? I really struggled with names for WoW, in part because all of the good names are taken at this point. But like every main character I have has the same name on every server. I have one main name.
I used to really struggle so much that my original server, basically every character had Ray and then something, because my old handle was Ray blah 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 blah. Then I just started leaning into puns. So everyone in the current guild can talk about a druid named Barry Good, who refuses to ever turn into a bear. I will never go into bear form, even if I'm going to die. The mage named Gigas. The very over-the-top dressed Blood Elf Paladin named L'Oreal because they're worth it. Like, it just goes into it.
I mean,
just have fun with it.
Adam managed to make a rogue called Hideo Kojima, and no one had taken it. And he tells this story on Let's Nova a lot, but he was like doing a dungeon, and I guess at one point like the damage started getting, you know, beyond just the tank, and he ended up dying. And one of the other players was like, "No, Kojima-san!"
Does that mean that every dungeon he does, someone can go, a Hideo Kojima game?
Yeah. It's just
WoW is now a Hideo Kojima game.
Yeah.